The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and this is the interview-based podcast that comes out each and every Thursday your way. Now, it is a little bit later today on the Thursday. Instead of 6 a.m, it is 12 p.m. coming out today, and that is due to it being Anzac Day. So I just wanted to bring this podcast out a little bit later on Anzac Day, which is the Thursday this year. So I just wanted to bring that out a little bit later, as I know people will be at dawn services and the like, and in respect to the servicemen and women who have lost their lives over the years and also that are serving as well. So I wanted to bring it out a little bit later, just in the middle of the day. So I hope you guys don't mind me doing that for this one. This is it'll be like a one-off, as it is Anzac Day. But anyway, today's guest, he is a great bloke and a very popular man in rugby league, especially with his teammates that he played with. And look, pretty popular with the fans as well. He played for the Gold Coast Seagulls, but he really made his name at the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. He won a premiership there in 1995. He also played in the 94 Grand Final and the 98 Grand Final as well, but also represented Queensland and Australia as well as playing over in England as well. And that is Mr. Jason Hetherington. Now, during the interview, we talk about growing up. We talk about how he started off at the Gold Coast and as a young Queenslander playing under the coaching of Wally Lewis as well. We talk about his debut game, moving to Canterbury as well, and his time there. Obviously the 94 Grand Final, 95 Grand Final, what it was like to play with a club legend like Terry Lamb, the Super League battle. Now, being a Parramatta fan myself, I did have to ask him about that 1998 prelim final, so it did hurt me to talk about that one a little bit, but I'm always interested in listening to other players, and especially Canterbury players, and their side of the story about that game as well. So we talk about that one. We've got a few fan listener questions as well as a quick top 10 and the set of 6. So a really interesting and enjoyable interview. I really hope you guys like it as well. All brought to you by Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast. So, without further ado, you don't want to listen to me talking, you want to hear the interview with Jason. So, as Hindy says,
get a beer, coffee, whatever you want.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy, and let's get straight into it. And today on the podcast, I've got a player who has won a premiership with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, has played for Australia and Queensland as well, and he is one of the most liked guys in rugby league, and I'm talking about Mr. Jason Hetherington. Welcome to the Paracave Podcast, Jason.
Top of the morning, Troy. How are you, mate? My pleasure.
I'm going great. Thank you very much for joining me today and having a chat. Now, growing up in Baralabar in Queensland, what was life for a young Jason Hetherington like?
No, it was pretty full on. We're just a small country town of 140 odd people, and we're outside of town. But long days, hour and 20 on the bus to school, and hour and 20 on the bus home, and makes it for a long day. But very enjoyable. Fond memories, certainly a lot of fond memories. A lot of neighbourhood catch-ups, which your nearest neighbour was probably 5 k's away, but we'd get on our bikes and all catch up and go and play backyard footy. And then when cricket season was on, we'd bat in the cricket ball and get into it. So not uncommon to most country kids growing up back in that generation.
Nice. Was rugby league always on the radar for yourself, being in a small country town?
Yeah, it definitely was. We, like I said, we'd play footy, and we had actually for a very small country town, we used to combine with the local Aboriginal mission Woorabinda up there, and
Okay.
we used to call ourselves Baralabinda, and we were nearly unbeatable. Actually, we had a terrific side and coming through the ranks, and then we a lot of talent come out of Woorabinda, I can tell you now, and once I got to 13, I went off to boarding school.
Nice. Well, you also played rugby union as a kid. Was that because of the boarding school at boarding school?
Yeah, it was. All I had was rugby union. I'd never even heard of the game till I went to boarding school, and ended up doing quite well in it. I played for Australia while I was there, and pursued that career, and went down to Brisbane and played with the likes of Michael Liner and Peter Slaptree and Greg Martin at uni in Brisbane, and then switched back over to league after a couple of seasons.
Did you want to switch back to league? Is that how you made your mind to follow the rugby league path?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I wanted to go back, and I had a chance game. Actually, I played the union on the Saturday, and they were short out a little town called Laidley out near Ipswich, and Laidley was short, and my brother-in-law was playing for me, rang me up and said, "Oh, do you want to have a run?" And I said, "Yeah." So I went out to Laidley and had a game of league, and first game of league since I was probably 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And went out there and played under a fake name. Had a good game, and then Ipswich Jets picked me up from there.
And no doubt, is that how you found your way to the Gold Coast?
Yeah, had a couple of seasons at the Jets. Ended up making the Queensland residence side, and then the King picked me up, signed me up out of the Queensland side, out of the Queensland residence side at the Gold Coast. Had a couple other options, but what better for a young fella thinking, one of your heroes is going to coach you. So I went and signed with Wally at the Gold Coast and had a season there, and then Bullfrog signed me up to go down to Canterbury after the season there at the Gold Coast.
Yeah, you just mentioned there the King. That must have been a dream, being a Queenslander, to be coached by Wally Lewis. Yeah,
it was. It was a dream to be playing in the competition. I think it was the New South Wales Rugby League competition back then, and just to be playing in it and playing against blokes like Brett Kenny, and that was, and Benny Elias, all these fellas, and Ciro, Terry Lamb. You sort of grew up watching. I still followed league when I was playing union, but it was, you had to pinch yourself really.
What can you tell me about your debut game against West? You made your debut off the bench at Campbelltown. What can you tell me about that?
For Canterbury, I was probably more so my debut game for the Gold Coast. Actually, was probably because that's your first crack in that competition. But I had to mark Terry Lamb actually.
Okay.
We played Canterbury. And I can remember it, and I can remember my debut game against West as well, for Canterbury, for the Bulldogs, and I guess as time goes past, they all become memories, don't they? And I guess again with with social media, and they can keep those dreams alive, I suppose, for all us retired blokes that just become a memory. People dig into the archives and start spreading it around, and half the stuff you forget about, and then it'll reappear in the social media platforms. And yeah, it's good, but it's, blink of an eye. That's what I tell the young blokes: blink of an eye, and she's all over.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And as you said, that's a good way to rekindle those memories is the social media. When you came down to the Gold Coast, you came down, I think, as a 5'8", and then you moved to hooker when you went to Canterbury. What was your favourite position?
Oh, I think obviously hooker. So I was always in the back. So I was a halfback in rugby union.
Yeah.
And a lot smaller, but yeah, I was recruited by Bullfrog to replace Bar when he decided to have enough, and so I went down there as a 5'8", and just by chance, and I guess it's a lot of players along their journey. There's a lot of luck and opportunity and chance that you got to grab, and Geordie Peets was the first hooker, and
yep.
He got hurt, and I think very early, might have been nearly in the trials, and they tried Ben Gillies and Marty Bella and Billy Johnson more so, because I had a close relationship with Billy at the Gold Coast Seagulls, and then I come down to Canterbury and he come down a week later, and I guess that close relationship, Billy being an old hooker, he said to Chris Anderson, he said, "H, why don't you try that young bloke from the bush there, come down. He's got a good pass," because I was a halfback in Union.
Yeah.
And he can tackle well. So they give me a few games in the Reggies, and then give me a crack at the top level, and I guess the rest was history after that.
Well, Canterbury make it to the grand final in that year, 1994, against Canberra. Unfortunately, lost that game, but what was that week like for yourself, coming from a small country town into the big smoke, into a grand final? You scored a try in the grand final. Must have been some sort of consolation as well.
Yeah, not really. Wouldn't matter what you did when you lose them. It's terrible. But yeah, it was. I guess we struggled at the Seagulls. I think we only won the one game all year, and then the next year I'm playing in a grand final. It was incredible. And it's, I guess the week leading up, you got to really embrace it, because it does go quick.
Yeah.
And when you get that crack at a grand final, you got to go for it, because it's hard to win a game, let alone get through to a grand final. So I feel that embracing it and embracing the moment. Everyone in at the Bulldog, in that area of Belmore, the blue and white houses and the blue and white cars and the streets, and everyone just got right behind you. And the first couple of days is all media commitments, so you get right into them and then get that out of the way so you can focus on your job. But yeah, it was just an incredible period, an incredible time, that week leading into the grand final. And mind you, a good few days after it, even though we lost that one, a good few days after it as well. But yeah, blink of an eye, you've celebrated what you've had to do, and then you're back into it again. So it comes around really quickly, comes and goes quickly.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, the next year, 1995, that year had everything in it. The Canterbury Bulldogs become the Sydney Bulldogs, and they play out of Parramatta Stadium. The Bulldogs make the grand final again from 6th spot and win it this time, and Super League comes up. Let's start with the grand final win. Going into that game, was that a different feeling to the year before?
Oh, I don't think so. From what I can remember, the week was exactly the same, with all the media commitments and the supporters getting right behind you, and the local councils and everybody. All that was no different. I think the vibe was no different. probably were expected to win 94 and not expected to win 95.
Okay. Yeah.
We were minor premiers in 94, and 95 we only just scraped in. I remember Craig Polly dropped a field goal down at Wollongong to get us into the actual finals. If he missed it, we were out. So only with a few seconds to go. So we just scraped into the finals in 95, and no one really gave us a chance, because I think that year we were beaten by Newcastle 42-0 at one point. So we were battling, and there was the ups and downs. Obviously, with the Super League, we four big guys, Jimmy Dimmick and Crackers and Jason Smith and Dean Pay were all sort of under assault from the Super League and then the ARL, and there was court cases, and it was all up in the air. But as a team and as a club, we really galvanised together, and once we got into the finals, we just felt we got through the first game. I think it was St George. We just scraped through it, but as each week come along and each victory come along, we just felt like we were growing and growing and growing. And then once we got to the grand final, and it was to beat Bars last year, so you got those little things to play for, and you want to put him out on a special moment, because he certainly earned it, as the year before with Mel with Canberra. So I think those little subconscious things play in your mind, and we just got to a point when we got to Manly that we felt that no one could beat us. The confidence within the group and the camaraderie, and it was it was a really galvanised, strong football team.
Well, you mentioned Terry
Lamb. I still give Jimmy a hard time now, I reckon, because if he and the other boys had stayed, we probably could have won 4 more comps.
Oh, wow, really?
So I still give him a hard time about it.
Just about those 4 Canterbury players that went to Parramatta that you mentioned there, was there a bit of unrest between the Canterbury players and those 4, or was it a case of they're just doing the best for their families?
Yeah, no, you can't blame them. They were put in a position that they had to make, whether they were tough decisions or not. They were put in a position where they had to make a decision, and and obviously there was no ill feeling because we won the competition with them there. So we're still all good mates now. So,
nice.
But no, they got to do what they got to do for their families, and as we all know, she's it's only a short period of a window in your life, isn't it? You got
definitely
10 years of the window, and then you got 50 or 60 years after that period that you got to fill it up. Fill that period of your life up with. So you got to try and figure out what you have to do then. Yeah,
that's for sure. Well, you mentioned Terry Lamb there as well. Now, this opinion might be a little bit biased because you played with him, but do you think he is the greatest Bulldog ever?
Yeah, well, I played with him, but let me say what Steve Mortimer's done too. I didn't, obviously, I was after Turvey, but, I'll put Barr at 1 and Turvey only because I played with him.
Yeah, that's
it's actually it's too disrespectful on the pair of them to split them, in my opinion. And they're both just absolute champion people. Wonderful for the club. You can't speak highly enough of either, but obviously playing with Barr had a closer relationship with him. But it's too disrespectful to split the two.
Now, were you, or was the team in 95 planning to win that grand final because Terry was going to retire, but then he actually came back in 96 and played 1 more year?
Yeah, I think a little bit behind. Yeah, obviously you want to put Barry out on a winner, like I said before. He deserved it for what he had done, not only for Canterbury, but for the game of rugby league itself. So I think all that sort of, you don't harp on it and don't squawk on it, but I think it digs deep into your subconscious of when you're actually out there playing. So,
Yeah.
you know, and like I said, he deserved it. He earned it. He earned the right to finish that way. He had a wonderful career. Great, and just a great fella. Great. Didn't matter if you'd played 30 tests for Australia or you're on your first game in the under-19s. He was no different, you know, to anyone. Didn't treat anyone differently. Just great club man, great for the club. Certainly the main drive between bringing our sides together, galvanising our sides, is incredible.
Yeah, and great to see him still involved at the Canterbury Bulldogs even today as well. 1987 was the Super League year, the split competition. During that time, I've spoken to a lot of players who played in that time, and they said that they signed with Super League because they wanted to play footy with their mates, and the club that they played at had signed with Super League. Was that a case for yourself as well?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I wanted to stay at Canterbury, so whichever direction they were going in, I was going with it.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there, formed a lot of good friendships, and loved being at the club, playing for the club. So the decision for me was quite easy. Actually, I had the opportunity to go the other way, but no, I didn't see the sense in it. I just wanted to stay at Canterbury.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, and that's what most people, most players that have said that played in that era have said. On the Super League, do you think that was a good concept, the idea, but just the execution of it probably wasn't right?
I don't know. I don't know. I think the concept was right. Still going over in England, going strong, but I think the concept was right. And at that point, I probably wasn't heavily into the political side of the game, just focused on playing. But, you know, whether it was run right or run wrong, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, the money certainly helped all the players. You know, if it didn't come along, would our wages jump to what they did? And they did jump significantly.
Yeah.
And we went from part-time to full-time. That's what I try and tell my boys now. You know, when I was part-time, I was brickies labouring down there, and there was 9 ton of bricks on the footpath, and I had to get them off the footpath because the council buddy had a note on them. So I got up Saturday morning, put them 66 to a barrow, wheeled them down to behind the house.
Yeah, wow.
9 ton, then had to go and play St George at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Wow.
when the Super League come through, we didn't have to do any of that stuff, you know, and I guess it was a learn for everybody on, you know, how do we train now, the difference. We've got so much time to put into it, you know. So I guess when it first kicked off, you know, coaches and trainers and players were all sort of learning how to deal with being a full-time player. So, but I think they're getting it all spot on now. They've had a fair while to get it right now.
Yeah, for sure. We'll fast forward to 1998 and to that game, the prelim final versus Parramatta. Now, as a massive Parramatta fan, I've never watched that game, or I don't like to talk about it, but I do love hearing about that game from players who played in it. You played in it. Was that the weirdest game that you'd ever played in?
Yeah, it was unusual. I think it was 18-2 with about 10 to go, and you're playing for a grand final spot, so there was a lot at stake. And I think the biggest thing at that point, and you got to remember the game before was exactly the same against the Knights. So we'd had 200-minute games. Everyone sort of forgets the Knights game, but it was very similar to the Parramatta one. And I think Billy Johnson was a master. He was a terrific trainer, and more for you. You know, he got you extremely fit and he got you tough, but he really got you emotionally ready for the challenges on the football field. And let's face it, we face a lot of challenges every game, whether it be repeat sets and you got to defend your line. Like there's a lot of challenges, and Billy really got us ready. And that didn't overnight. Like, that was a few years of, like, he'd been there probably 5 or 6 years of doing the training. We just knew, even the week before, we just knew that we've done the hard work. We're fit, we're tough, we're mentally focused, mentally strong. And I guess it was a part of the culture of Canterbury that we never gave in, didn't matter regardless of the scoreline. And we just felt we were gaining, I felt we were gaining a little bit of momentum. I think Robbie Ralph flicked the ball out the back to Rocket that probably got the ball rolling, I think, from memory. I can't quite remember, but just felt we were gaining momentum. And again, it was that we never gave in. We never put the cue in the rack. Anything can happen. Let's just keep working hard. So, and the good fortunes for us, and not you guys, the Parramatta supporters, but I looked up and I think there was no blue and white in the crowd. They'll tend to go, so not much anyway. It's all Parramatta supporters still, but it was probably it was an unusual game, but it was a great game to be a part of. It probably would go down as one of the biggest comebacks, I guess, as far as what the game meant. You were playing for a grand final spot, so it was a terrific game, terrific to be a part of, and very enjoyable. The next week wasn't so good, but it was a great game to be a part of. And you've got to remember too, like 95, we lost probably 8 players out of that grand final side, and then by 98 we were in another grand final. So it was, a strong club, really good club to be a part of.
Did you honestly think that Craig Polamatta kicked that field goal from, what was it, about 50 metres out? Because the look on your face was that he did.
I was hoping, because I was rooted. I didn't have much more left in the tank, so I was just hoping she'd gone over, because I didn't want to go into the extra time. But
that's fair enough.
As it turned out, she was only just short. But anyway, we got the job done in the extra time anyway. So, but I was just hoping. I was praying.
That's it. Well, do you think, because you had those couple of extra time games in the semi-finals, do you think that probably took a toll on the Canterbury side in the grand final, or were Brisbane just too good?
I think the class of Brisbane, I spoke to Alf about it. I'd become really close with Alf over it when I was doing all the Origin stuff, when Mel was running the show with the Queensland side, and we actually sat down and spoke about it, and he said, Wayne said, because I think at half time we might have been 14-12 up, I think. And Alf reckons Wayne said to him at half time, just hang in there, start the second half. Well, they've got to run out of energy because of the big 2 weeks we'd had prior. But I don't know if it was energy. I think it was just straight out class. Brisbane had a wonderful football side in that 98 side, and they played really well their second half. They just played to a plan and probably wore us down more so. But a good football side,
Well, I guess you could say 1998 as well had a couple of highlights for yourself. State of Origin first for Queensland, and you went on to play 8 games for them. That must have been a dream, being a Queenslander, to pull on that Origin jersey.
Oh, absolute dream come true. Yeah, definitely. I was actually 1981. We were little guests of honour. I was in the Queensland under-12 schoolboys side, and they took us to the 81 game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, live. So that, and then we'd only listened to it on the radio as kids growing up. But it was, and everyone says it, this old cliche, it's every kid's dream in rugby league, whether it be play for New South Wales or play for Queensland, no doubt about it. But to play Origin footy. It was a special period, special time to get that opportunity to play for Queensland, because, like I said, we all want to do it, and not everyone gets the opportunity to do it.
Do you think playing with those sort of calibre of players, the best in Queensland, and being coached by the super coach Wayne Bennett, do you think that did a lot for yourself personally and took that back to Canterbury?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You know, I think it's more the confidence that you gain. You know, you're playing with elves and these blokes, and it makes you a better player in that company anyway.
Okay.
And it's always, you know, to bring that confidence back to club level. That's why it's good if I feel if teams can be well represented at Origin level. They might do it a bit tough initially through the Origin period because they got their players out, but when they come back to club football, they've grown another leg through confidence and who they're being surrounded by, and it's just you seem to find yourself at another level.
Yeah.
And then you got to remember too what happens if you play for Queensland and New South Wales. Then the expectations on you of your supporters and everyone becomes that's your standard then. So, you know, you got to, when you come back, you've got to lift your standards to be an Origin player or an Australian player. So that, you know, the pressures to keep lifting your standards as you're going through the ranks, I feel is very important. And so to keep your standards high, you got to work harder and you got to do things better. And so I guess that, like in the big picture of everything, when you represent your state or your country, those standards rise, so you got to go with them. You know,
Yep.
My personal views, it was unacceptable if I didn't play like an Origin player every week. That's unacceptable in my personal views, you know.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what happens with the supporters, and they expect you to be at an Origin or an Australian level every week. So then it's up to you to carry out those standards and find it, and how do you get to those standards every week? And it's just hard work, really.
Yeah, no, it is. What was your favourite Origin memory, either playing or off field?
Oh, probably I got the Wally Lewis. It's just I guess one of those humbling things along your career now that you're finished. But yeah, I received the Wally Lewis Player of the Series.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just a personal achievement, but extremely proud of that one.
Definitely.
And obviously, when you find out for the very first time, no one rings you. My neighbour, Roscoe Lobb, across the road, he come running. He was a Bulldogs mad, and he come running across. He'd heard it on the radio and come and told me.
Yeah.
So that's how I found out I was picked. And my neighbour come and told me. Yeah. But yeah, probably, you know, playing your first game and receiving the Wally Lewis medallion was really a special moment for me.
Who did you room with in Origin camps?
Oh, I had Chrissy McKenna there for a while, and Paul Buggy's too polite to dig me in the ribs because bad snorer.
Okay.
And he's too polite to dig me in the ribs, poor Buggy. Morning Origin, he's had no sleep.
Oh, no. I know, my wife, she'd probably jab me in the ribs if I was snoring, that's for sure. And also in 1998, you also represented Australia as well, no doubt another proud achievement. And in your first game for Australia, you scored a try as well against New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah, that was special. I got... Actually, it was by default, but that's all right.
Yeah, take it.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think Andrew Johns was hooker, I think, and Kevy was 5'8", and Kevy did his hamstring at training, so they Wayne moved Andrew out to 5'8" and called me into hooker. Yeah, so that I sort of fell into that by default, but I'll take that. And when I got to New Zealand, Wayne was in bed. He was crook as a dog. Oh, real bad.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, I went up and saw him and just said, oh, thanks for the opportunity, Wayne. I won't let you down, mate. And that was it. Yeah, he just laid in bed, and we actually got we got the win there, so that was good too.
Did he go on to coach the game?
Yeah, this was a few days before.
Okay. Yeah.
He was enough to get get well, but Jesus, he didn't look real good.
Yeah, that's it. Well, your next test match and your last one was the Anzac test match against New Zealand, which Australia won pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Just what are your thoughts about having... I know it's all changed now. There's club football that's played on Anzac Day and there's an Anzac round. But what's your thoughts about having a Anzac test match back in the calendar?
Yeah, I like it for the fact it gives blokes that play test football, gives them an opportunity to be, to strive for that opportunity to play for your country. I liked it because I knew the test was there, the Anzac test. So you worked hard and strived to get picked in it. And I don't know what the numbers. Well, a lot of it's economics now, so I don't know the ins and outs of it all. But any opportunity to represent your country. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit difficult these days with the amount of club games that are on and trying to schedule it in there, but it certainly would be great to see an Anzac test come back into play. At the end of 2000, you left the Bulldogs to go over to play in England. Was that a hard thing to do? Did you want to stay at the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I wanted to stay, and I guess I was getting to the age and where they were sort of, looking towards their future. And I was offered 2 years overseas and only a year at Canterbury, so I felt it a little bit more secure. Yeah. To shoot overseas, over London Broncos. Actually had a wonderful time over there, but I thought it was a bit risky just going year to year, but if there was a little bit more guarantee in it, I probably would have stayed. And then if I had knocked back the English one, I might have been getting to the age where I mightn't get that opportunity again. Yeah. And it was a big sacrifice because I still was playing for Queensland and Australia when I left to go over there. So it was a big decision, actually. It was a tough one. I felt I still had a bit more to do, a bit more to offer in the NRL, and at Canterbury. But the opportunity came, and again financially, it was a good opportunity to go over there. So went over there and had a hell of a time over in England. It was good.
Yeah, well, you got to play with your old Dogs teammate Jim Dimmick, and you also played in a team with a guy who, in my opinion, has one of the best rugby league names ever, Steele Retchless.
Yeah, Steely, yeah. Well, I was in that Queensland resident side when I first kicked off with Steely.
Okay, yeah. What can you tell me about him? He made his mark over in England, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a good player. Reliable. He mightn't have been a 10 every week, but he was nothing under an 8. So he just, he was an old school, just get his 40 tackles up, run the ball hard, reliable, honest. A real good fella, real good bloke. We had a really good squad over there, and I was fortunate enough, like I said, in the early days, I come across Steely in that Queensland residence or Brisbane side, Fatty coach first, Brisbane Capitals. Yeah. And then we went on and made the residence side together. So, and then we ended up, I think he went to the Crushers. And then, we ended up at the end of our careers over in England together. So it was great.
Nice. Well, after playing, you ended up coaching with the Central Queensland Capras. Did you see yourself as a coach whilst you were playing, or it was something that you wanted to do after playing?
Oh, no, it was sort of fell into that a little bit, I guess. And it's, I guess, when you retire, I sort of looked at the game differently after I'd finished playing. You'd look at all positions and how they do things, and so I'd look at the games when I watch them on TV a little bit differently to when I was playing. So But I enjoyed it. I was lucky enough, like I said before, when I retired, I had the opportunity to go into the Origin side when Mal had that real strong period of 10 years. So I spent the 10 years there, and then I had 1 year with Kev when he took over, and then Kev offered me the Queensland girls job, the inaugural Origin girls job. So I stayed involved in the game through that period, for a good 15 years, and at that level. So it was really enjoyable. And then, the captain's job come along, and I took that on, and it was a tough gig. But, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it, actually. And I guess I love the game, love being around the players. Keeps you young and youthful, and because the game's been a massive part of my life, I felt I had a bit to offer for it, so I took that job, and it lasted a few years, but it was a tough gig.
Well, certainly, you mentioned there the women's Queensland side. The women's game is certainly growing at a fast rate these days, and they put on a great product, don't they?
Yeah, it's I guess it's probably at the moment. When I first started doing it at the Origin level, I enjoyed it because they weren't overcoached. They were still playing. They were playing footy, and their defensive stuff. The grapple and the wrestle and the slowing it down and tangling it all up. All that wasn't in their game. Yeah. They just hit with their shoulders. Some were technically very good tacklers. They'd still hit, and the refereeing would allow, if they put a good shot on under the ball, good solid contact, the refereeing would allow them to stay on them a bit instead of penalising them for holding them down and whatever. So I found that it was probably, it was back 10 or 15, 20 years ago with the men's game. The overcoaching hadn't come into the girls. They were thinking for themselves. They just played probably a lot of eyes up footy, which was good. Yeah, and I enjoyed that side of it. It was really good.
Yeah, no, it's certainly growing and growing these days, and as you said, a great product to watch. And what else has been keeping you busy since the coaching and retiring from playing?
Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got one bloke doing quite well with the Broncos at the moment. Kobe, he's doing well. And I've got another fella, he's down at Canterbury for a few years, but I brought him back. He's at Winner Manly.
Okay, yeah.
I've got a daughter, she's just given me a little grandson, so...
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, and little granddaughter in another month and a half or so, ready to go, and I've got a young fella, he's apprentice builder, so it's quite busy. But now I work at the Gladstone Ports Corporation. I got my own little business. I run a little water truck business I've had for 20 years. Yeah. But I've downsized on it, and so I can have a bit of time now trying to run your own business at the moment. If you aren't in the trucks, you're under them. So I wasn't getting any time to do anything. So I work for Gladstone Ports Corporation up here, which we manage all the coal for the coal mines.
Okay, yeah.
We get it exported all around the world. So it's a big corporation. There's 700 employees. We probably do about 1.2 million tonnes a week.
Yeah, wow.
Which is a lot of coal. All the other countries are using it, which is good for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Not for us. We don't use our own good coal, unfortunately. But anyway, that's another political story.
Yeah, well, politics and sport don't mix. So
yeah, but unfortunately, it's in it everywhere.
That's it, unfortunately. But you mentioned Kobe there, and as you said, he's making his mark at the Broncos. He played in a grand final last year against the Panthers. No doubt that's a proud moment watching your son make a grand final and now playing regular first grade.
Yeah, it's proud of all my kids, but yeah, to see him, again, I've seen the hard work as a little fella go right through. I've seen the knockbacks. You're there with the tears, and you're there with the excitement, and you're there with the blood coming out, and you're there. You're there in the early morning starts, 3-hour drives, and you're there from the word go. And then to see, when he got his debut, I got to present him his jersey, his mother and I. Present him his jersey against the Roosters, actually, down in Sydney. And it was a proud moment for him, because the old rugby league journey, she's an up and down one. There's a lot of rough roads on it. So, and he'd been down a lot of those rough roads, and then he got to achieve his dream, and I was happy for him.
Yeah, no, definitely. As I said, he's making his mark now in first grade, playing regular games, so it's great to see. Just on today's game, would you have liked to have played today, or would you have preferred to play when you played?
Oh, I'd play anytime. Still play now if me mind will let me, but my body's not gonna.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah.
No, I miss the game, certainly, but it's certainly evolved, hasn't it? Into a very technical. You sort of look at the halfbacks now, and they're probably just finding their craft and understanding the game in their late 20s, early 30s, because there seems to be a lot of scientific stuff in it. Get to here, get to that bloke, run so that the game management to me is, the young halves, they've got to really learn their trade, I guess. A bit like quarterback in the NFL, you just got to understand how the team works and where they need to be at what point and different things. But I feel that Brisbane probably play a little bit more eyes up. They got that youth and speed, and that they throw it around a little bit and take opportunities that are given to them. They probably play a little bit more eyes up type footy, but it's I don't know. I probably handle today's game. I wouldn't know, actually, to be honest with you. I made myself name out of tackling, mate, so that's probably all I'd do.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, I've got some listener questions that have come in, and the first one is from a S. Sattler of the Gold Coast.
Oh, yeah, Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty.
The great Scott.
You got it spot on, and he said to ask you, why were your nicknames Butch at the Gold Coast and Dalton at the Bulldogs?
Right, Butch was when I was about 4 or 5. My dad started that.
Okay.
Never had any skin on my nose and always busted up. So, and I was always a solid little fella. So Butch, and then that just stuck. No one really knew my real name, really. Even teachers and that at school, And then, and that's still today. And then I went down south, started Ipswich, and I breed Staffies, and my male dog, bull-fetted bastard, he's got a big head on him. So I come to training with him. We had a one day of the year where you could bring your dog along.
Okay.
So I brought him along, and Lexi Neal and Craig Sparks, good friends, and they said, "Oh, Jesus Christ, the old." You know how the old owner looks like their dog?
Yeah.
And his name was Dalton, so it just sort of stuck when I went south.
Okay, yeah. Oh, nice.
So 2 nicknames. So I got a southern one and a northern one, or a central one.
Oh, that's pretty handy. So when you come down south, you just change it and then go back home, and it's... change it again. You mentioned Billy Johnson before. He also asked to ask, what are some of your best Billy Johnston stories? But I'll change it into, what's your funniest Billy Johnston story?
Oh, probably when we used to go riding together. We had a lot of funny ones, but I think probably when we were at the Gold Coast, when we were there with Sats, I went in and I said to Billy, looks like I'm gonna go to the Bulldogs. I'm gonna sign with the Bulldogs, because Billy played for the Bulldogs too. So anyway, he gave me a real tune-up, real serve. You got to be loyal to this club. They give you your start, blah blah blah. Work me over 5 minutes. And I wasn't going to blue Billy because he's very handy.
That's right.
So anyway, I go down. I'm sitting in Bullfrog's office. Next minute, the door opens and in comes Billy Johnson. A week later, I said, "What are you doing, Bill?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to sign here. Going to come back to the Bulldogs." I said, "You what?" I said, "You just give me a tune-up for 5 minutes there a week ago." He said, "Oh, yeah, forget about that. I've just got to move on." But, yeah, there's a lot of good ones on riding the bikes. You know, we'd ride probably 400 or 500 Ks a week with Billy.
Yeah.
And I remember Darren Britty had a mountain bike and I had a mountain bike, and everyone had these real thin-wheeled road bikes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're doing a waterfall ride down in Sydney, and Billy said, because we're all starting to string out a bit, he said, when you get to the top of the hill, just everyone wait up at the top of the hill so we can all get together and ride off again.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't realise, because up home, our side posts, our guide posts, they're made of timber and they were stiff.
Yeah.
And I got to the top of this hill on a mountain bike, and I thought, I was that rooted. I thought, I'll lean on this guide post here and get me, because you got your feet locked into those pedals.
That's right.
And I'd never ridden a bike. I'd ridden a BMX bike. Anyway, I get up on top of this hill. I didn't realise them guide posts were made of plastic. And I leaned on this guide post, and she's crumbled underneath me. I've gone 10 metres downhill.
Oh, wow.
Still tangled up in the bike. Billy's had to come down, reach down, and try and sneak me up this hill.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, and again, we're riding on M5.
Yeah.
And it was only Billy and I this day. I must have been in the injured group, something different.
Okay.
And we're on the M5 coming up to King George's Road, and traffic's real busy, and we're out on the next minute. These P-platers come driving past, and they're abusing us, giving us a tune-up.
Yeah, bike riders on it.
Anyway, Billy said, "Do you want to give these blokes a fright?" I said, I'll see how I go. I'm rooted. Anyway, we're riding down through the traffic looking for them. And we're going down about 5 or 6 cars too far, and then we've turned around and come back up. Well, there they are. They've wound the windows up. They've locked the doors. Buddy, Billy's give the bonnet a bit of a tap, and then we just rode off. Yeah, typical bike rider. So give us a tune.
Oh, nice. Well, the next one comes from a K Campion of the Gold Coast as well.
Oh, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Campion.
Yeah,
and he
great fella.
Yeah, he is. I've had him on the podcast before and told some great stories. But he said to ask you about the butcher shop that sold 10 cows and pigs in 1 year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, what happened? The big flood went through. Anyway, the butcher, he had pigs.
Yeah.
And the big floods come through, and he said, "I've lost 30,000 pigs."
Okay.
And he's tried to make a claim for 30,000 pigs, but it was 30,000 pigs. 30,000, 30 pigs.
Yeah.
30,000 pigs. Shit.
Wow. Oh, funny. And the last one comes from A Vowels, also of the Gold Coast.
Oh, we're having a reunion, eh?
Yeah, it's a great guest that I've had on the podcast before. He said,
Tough bugger.
Yeah, he just basically said that you guys played in trials together and then caught the bus the next morning to, I think, Rockhampton, and you were on the microphone just telling joke after joke, and everyone was in stitches. And he also said to ask about growing up in Barralabar. You have plenty of funny stories about growing up in there, and your dad was a tough bugger too.
Yeah, he's still tough, the old man. He's 84 now and still going well. Still nearly ran into a bit of strife last year, but it was all right. I said, "You'd need the defib machine." He said, "Yeah, I'd have to get it done quick nowadays." Yeah, but no, he's doing well. No different to how Bowsy would have grown up out in the bush. So, but yeah, I guess our enjoyment was a bloody rifle. Go and shoot a few roos and grab some meat for the dogs. And
Yeah.
it's growing up on a property we grew up with a rifle. Started with a pop gun, and then we elevated to a slug gun, and then to a rifle. So yeah, that was get on your pushies and just go and ride and grab dog meat and whatever. A lot of good stories, a lot of hard work stories.
Oh, yeah.
We had to, even as little kids, we had to work.
Yeah.
Growing up, but it was. It's a good clean. We ate all our own food. No, it was a luxury to go to Rocky once a year and grab a bit of fish and chips. That was our big outing, go to the Rocky show. But yeah, that's just how we grew up. That's just how it was, and I still go out there. Dad's still out there.
Nice.
We've got a property out there. I'm in Gladstone now, but I'll end up out there when the time's right. But yeah, we've still got interest out there, so I take the kids out there always. When there's a lot of work to do, I wait till they've all got time off so they can come home, and I take them out there and we
nice.
brand all the cattle and cut them and do all the cattle work and that. The kids like it, so it's no different to ours. His upbringing,
Yeah, that's it.
and a good tough one. It wasn't. It was a. We're all loved, but it was a tough upbringing we had to do. We're still on. Growing up, we're on generators and stuff like that. So you'd have to shoot up and turn the generator off. So I was scared of snakes. And
Oh, yeah.
9 o'clock at night, the old generator would be up in the saddle shed, and you'd have to go up there and bloody turn the bastard off, and geez, you'd run full 100 mile an hour so you wouldn't get bitten by a snake.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. We'll do the quick top 10, which is basically sort of a yes or no answer about a variety of topics. And barbecue or tomato sauce?
No, barbecue, mate.
Yeah, and just a side one to that. Where do you keep it, the fridge or the cupboard?
No, fridge.
Okay, yeah. On a plane, window or aisle seat?
Oil.
Nice. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh, I used to, but not. I'll eat it,
Yeah.
but I don't have to be that hungry. But I'd probably do meat lovers or something. Support the beef industry, mate.
Yeah, no, that's my choice of pizza too. Tea or coffee?
Oh, tea.
Arnold or Sylvester?
Oh, no, Sly.
Yeah.
Arnie's the left wing. He's left wing.
McDonald's or KFC?
Oh, KFC. Yeah, definitely.
What's your go-to at KFC?
Popcorn chicken.
Yeah, no, they go all right. Morning or night person?
Oh, morning. Rather do things in the morning.
Yeah. Summer or winter?
Summer, definitely.
Yeah. Coke or Pepsi?
Or Coke.
Yeah. Now, taking you back to your playing days and training days, cardio or weights?
Weights, definitely.
Yeah. Nah, that's good. Well, we'll wrap things up with the set of 6. Favourite sport outside of rugby league?
Boxing.
Okay. Yeah. Who's your favourite boxer?
Oh, I've got 3. I've got Marciano, Joe Frazier, and Iron Mike. But then, obviously, our good ones with Zoo, our locals with Fennick and Zoo and Lester Ellis and Harding. I liked all the local fellas, but we're always glorified to the heavies, but then obviously I was out of the big 4 that made middleweights a real big thing. I liked Roberto Duran.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that last Tim Zoo's fight was certainly an epic one, and let's hope he gets a rematch against Fundora.
Oh, yeah. No, he'll bring him down the next one.
That's it. Favourite holiday destination?
It was funny. I used to live on the Gold Coast with the boys I just typed in, and I was the only fella that would go from the Gold Coast to Bralaba for a holiday. Normally they go the other way around.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no, I've been to the States. It was good over there. Had fun over there, but anywhere really, just so long as I've got a bit of a roof and running water. I don't mind where I go.
That's nice. Who would be the most famous person you would love to meet or would have loved to have met and had a chat with?
Oh, I'd love to. There's a few, but I like me country music, so I went and saw Johnny Cash live. That was good, but blokes like him and Willie and John Anderson and Hank Williams Jr., but I'd love to meet Mel Gibson. I reckon he'd be interesting.
Yeah, certainly would be. Yeah, great story.
Real Aussie sort of. He'd be interesting, I reckon.
Yeah, I certainly love those Mad Max movies that he did. They were great ones. Time to give up some former teammates. Which 3 former teammates do you think you wouldn't want to be on a deserted island with, and why?
Oh, I'd like to be on the islands with them, because they'd certainly look. We'd work hard to get off the island. Okay. I know that. Yeah, but
that's a different way to look at it for sure.
Yeah, they'd be loyal buggers. I know that, but that's a pretty hard one. You know, we were all too good of mates to bloody.
Fair enough.
You know, no one would be doing anything. Oh, Ralphie'd be bloody stirring you up some one way or another, but no, I won't answer that, because we're all too tight, too thick.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Put a spin on it. What about, do you think opposition players? Is there any opposition players you think you wouldn't want to be stuck there with?
Oh, I used to have a few running battles with a few of them, but not really. It's a long time ago now.
Yeah.
I used to have a real running battle with Spud and Dean Treaster, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just part of what the game was about.
That's for sure. I'm tipping I know the answer to the next question, but what's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue?
Well, believe it or not, I used to be a chef. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm a steak man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's the perfect way to have a steak cooked?
Oh, medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And you probably already answered this one, but I'll ask it anyway. Favourite musician or band to listen to?
Oh, any. I like both types. There's a couple of types I like, country and western.
Okay.
So, yeah, I listen to, anything. The older school country. I'm not big on the new stuff.
Okay,
but
yeah.
Yeah, or the older generation, older sort of country. There's some good new country stuff, but it's gone pretty poppy at the moment. But yeah, I'm an old school country sort of listener. I like blues, and I grew up on Neil Diamond, and I like all those guys. Yeah, we only had one cassette in the tractor when we were farming as a kid, and that was Hot August Night. So I listened to it round and round and round.
Wear it out.
Yeah, wore it out because couldn't get radio station or anything, so just listened to Hot August Nights every day.
Well, certainly Sweet Caroline has certainly made another comeback, I guess you could say. I mean, it's played at every sporting event these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jason Hetherington, thank you very much for joining me today on the Parracave podcast. I really enjoyed it, and to talk to a player that I watched growing up play rugby league and broke my heart in 1998, but that's okay. But thank you very much for joining me today on the podcast.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, welcome back, and thank you very much for listening to Jason Hetherington and his rugby league and life story. Certainly, I really enjoyed listening to him. As I said in the intro, he did talk about that 98 prelim final. That really hurt me, but as I said, I'm always interested to hear what the opposition players say about that game, because, hey, it's in history now. It's done. It's dusted a long time ago. Can't change the result, so you might as well listen to it and learn from it and, just enjoy that conversation. But I did certainly do that. I did enjoy that one, and we wish his son Kobe Hetherington of the Broncos all the best in season 2024. He's certainly making his mark up there. Thank you for listening. As I said, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or the X as it's now known, Facebook as well. It's all over there as well. And if Spotify and Apple as well, please subscribe there. You will not miss a thing. Each time each and every podcast is dropped, you'll get a notification and it will be there in your podcast library. So please do that. Share it with your friends and family. Look, I really appreciate the support. I've been getting a lot of positive comments about the podcast and people enjoying the content that's coming your way. So I really hope you are. There was a lot of content last week. We had the Zach Lomax signing at the Eels. We had the tipping podcast for the week. We had the Pulse FM with the Duckman review and previews. It was a busy week. We had the interview with Shannon Nevin as well. So yeah, it was a big week on the podcast last week. So getting listeners from all around the world. So I really appreciate you guys from listening. If you want to, please send me a message and let me know where you're listening to the podcast from. I would love to hear where you're listening to the podcast from. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on the podcast platform that you are listening on. If you would like to purchase a Parracave Podcast hat, they are still available. So $10 for a podcast hat. You will see me wearing them in each and every video that I do. They look great. A cheap, good birthday present or just a gift there, and that would really support the podcast. So just send me a message on Instagram or wherever, and I'm sure we could set that one up for sure. If you would also like to sponsor the podcast, please reach out and I'm sure we could work out something. As I said, get a lot of listenerships from Australia, and I can promote your business on the podcast, each and every podcast and each and every interview-based podcast as well, and on social media as well, but I'm sure we can work something out as well. So if you would like your business to be promoted, please get in contact today and we will work something out for sure. That's enough of me and this podcast for now. There probably won't be a game day podcast out this week just due to timing and the like. I may or may not. Just stay tuned. I don't have a special guest lined up as a Manly supporter, so it may be just myself again doing a game day preview, but stay tuned for that one. I will see if I can get that one out for you. The game is obviously Friday night, so I'll try and get that one done tomorrow after work and after the football, and we'll get that one hopefully maybe out. So just stay tuned. You never know. Here we go again, Manly and Para. So stay tuned for that one. But also there'll be the Duckman chats on Pulse FM and anything else that comes out. So I really hope you're enjoying the content. Anyway, that is enough of me in this podcast. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate the support. And as I always say, the Parracave Podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parracave Podcast. See you next time.